Blues Fan Forum podcast.
Skating on the ice under St. Louis city lights, where the Blues play with all their might. Jordan Cairo, fast on the attack, but defense falters, gotta cut him some slack. In rubber tongues we find our glory, his skills shine the team's best story. St. Louis Blues, we wear the crest. In Jordan Bennington we put our trust to the test. On the ice we fight and we must, for the city we love. In the blue no we'll trust.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode 165 of the Blues Fan Forum podcast, your source for Blues news, views, and fan interviews. Presented by Scooters Coffee. Blues fans can score amazing drinks like the signature Carmelicious, served hot, iced, or blended, with world-class espresso, fruit smoothies, Scoot energy infusions, and so much more. That is amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Scooters Coffee. We've been gone for a couple weeks now. I'm sure most of you listeners or people around are aware that I am now located just south of Denver. I'm in Colorado Springs. So I had that all going on. Dakota is busy tonight with work and has been busy the last couple weeks with work. So we've been kind of, well, we'll just take a week off or take 2 weeks off. And then all of this news happens. And so now we have a shit ton to talk about. Luckily, we have our draft guru here with us this week in Koty. Koty, thank you for coming and welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Lots of stuff to talk about, and it's going to be an interesting one.
This is going to be fun. I think this is draft 3 you've been with us, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, looking forward to it. We have lots to talk about. As Koty and I were preparing for this about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, Jordan Cairo was on the trade block and is now off the trade block because he has been dealt to the Washington Capitals. So we are just going to dive straight in and talk about that. We do have a couple comments. Sam's here. Hey, Sam. It's been a while. She says, hey, Koty. So,
hello.
Let's just kind of break it down real quick. Jordan Cairo goes to Washington. He still has 5 years left on that $8.125 AAV contract. There was no salary retention in that. The Blues get Connor McMichael, a 25-year-old who still is unsigned as of right now, but is an RFA. We also get a 19-year-old Milton Gastrin, who is, of course, Swedish, because why wouldn't we? And then we also pick up the 16th overall pick. Koty, as you're kind of hearing that news and getting that, what were your thoughts or what's your reaction to that?
I love it, honestly. My original thought, like I told you before, I was on the phone with my dad, and I'm like, we're going to probably get one of these first and one of their prospects. And I'm like quickly scrolling through their list, and I'm like, Milton Gastrin, that's the guy that's coming back. He's a center. We need him. He's Swedish. He was talked about in last year's draft of a possible target for us. He's the former captain of the World Junior team for Sweden. With all that good talent, he was their leader. So I was like, this just fits everything that Steen is going to want for this team. And that was my expectation. Maybe like a throw in, like a third or something. But to get Connor McMichael coming back too, like that, I think Steen did an awesome job. Like I'm shocked that we got as much back as we did for Jordan Cairo.
Yeah, we get not only the 16th overall pick, but they give us the better pick of what they have between 16 or 18. Not that that's a major difference, but still a young Milton Gastrin, who I mentioned was 19 years old. He was a second-round pick last year. And like you said, center. And then Connor McMichael, 25 years old, the 25th overall pick in 2019. And his last 3 seasons, he's played 240 games, which he's missed, I think, 8 games in the last 3 years, which I kind of like. He's got 58 goals, 78 assists for 136 points. He did have a season of 57 points 2 years ago. But with that one looked like he played mostly on the wing, where last year he played mostly on the center. So hell of a trade. Lots of directions for for where the Blues can go now, which includes, we're just going to go ahead and tee this off now. Sam says, what are the odds of getting Ivar Stenberg with the Blues now having 4 first-round picks? Koty, how are you feeling about that?
I think for the first time, like we've talked about Ivar Stenberg a lot, right? This is the Blues fans' dreams. It's been since last year. Like, this is the guy that everyone wants. Until this trade happened, I was one of the few Blues fans that's just like, this isn't realistic. Like, we're not pulling this off. I think it's possible now. Like, I am getting excited that I think there's a real chance that we can make this run. And I think part of that is because the Sharks also made a trade to get pick 9 right before this happened. And so they're at pick 9. They don't need that second pick, right? Like, they don't need to go get Ivar Stenberg. They're loaded on offense. So this is one where I'm like, maybe this makes sense now. Like, maybe we can send a couple picks, a couple prospects, maybe some young, close to NHL ready that isn't necessarily going to fit with this team. Like, it seems like we've got a lot of like depth centers, and we've got a lot of wingers and a lot of left-handed defensemen. And so the Sharks need defense in a bad way. So if there's a way that you could package a couple of those picks up and maybe a defensive prospect or two, I think that's a very realistic option now. And until this trade, I did not think that was a possibility.
Yeah, I know that's been kind of the Blues pipe dream, especially when we were really sucking before the Olympics and we were in that top 5 range. We're like, oh, this is realistic. Now it's a little bit harder. We're gonna have to give up a little bit more because we only have, only 11, 15, 16, and 29. But yeah, it's a little bit more. Gonna have to give some more. Greg says here, I think we have to send a D-man to the Sharks if we want to get number 2, which is, yeah, kind of Koty, you said.
Well, shoot, like Cam Fowler is he going to fit in here long term? Is he willing to move now that the Blues look a little further away? You go to a team that's really just missing some defensemen to make like an actual push, and you're in the weakest division in hockey. So like, maybe Fowler's that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Backlund Celebrini, you're almost guaranteed to make the playoffs.
So freaking good.
Yeah. And then we'll just keep on moving with comments here, because Ivar Stenberg is one option, but if we're not going to use all 4 of those picks, the second option is probably Elias Peterson.
Yes. Here's the deal. He has a no trade clause also. So it seems likely, with the whole locker room issue for the last several years in Vancouver, that Pettersson is ready to move on. So I'm not worried about him waiving it necessarily. But they do have new coach, new ownership group. The Sedin twins are there. So you've got the Swedish connection. You've got Manny Malhotra coming in to coach them. So maybe he wants to see what that looks like. But they also don't want to retain any of his money. And so it's a big risk. It's a boom or bust type of thing, because if it really is just a locker room thing in Vancouver and he needs a change of scenery, we're talking about 100-point center. Like, that's not just a 2C. That's a 1C. So if you compare him with Robert Thomas and get him back to where he was, now you're looking at 2 elite centers. Now you're in business. Will they retain anything? Because again, you're talking like 5 more years at 11.6, I believe is what he's
Correct.
at.
Yep.
So you're taking on a massive risk. Now, again, the cap's going up, so that doesn't look quite as bad. But if you can get them to retain $1.5 million, $2 million, you get it to that 9.5, 10. With this increase in cap, it doesn't look quite as bad. But it is a huge risk that if you trade for him, is he going to bounce back? I think he will. I would absolutely, if you're like, hey, we want 29. We just want a first. We want to get back in it and take a late round pick. Yeah, I'm doing it all day, because the upside of a 100-point player and at center at that, like you don't come across those. You draft them and you have an opportunity to maybe get one of those guys. I think you got to try and take that chance.
Yeah, I will say the only thing that scares me about Elias Peterson is that contract, is that 11.6.
a very big number.
Yes, I've been very happy, and I actually wrote an article for Interstate 70 Sports Media about how Robert Thomas's and at the time Jordan Kyrou's kind of $8 million floor or ceiling there was the ceiling. No one was going to get paid more than Robert Thomas did, which Elias Peterson can be a better player than Robert Thomas. So it makes sense that he gets paid more, but I'd really like it in that 9 or that 10 range, kind of like you said. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for the comments, Sam, Mike, and Greg early on. If you guys want to send us kind of your reactions to the Jordan Kyrou, go ahead and just send us whatever celebratory GIF you can come up with. Go ahead, put that on there. Koty, in the unrealistic situation that the Blues take their 4 first-round picks, how are you feeling? Well, let's do this first before we even get into that. What's your percentage on? Do the Blues take all 4 of their picks,
0.
or are they? You're saying there one of them at
chance.
minimum is gone.
Oh yeah, you're probably trying to trade up to 2 to San Jose. I think that's realistic now. Maybe it sounds gross and dirty, and I hate this, but Chicago is the biggest prime candidate to move out of the top 5 at number 4. So like there's that option, but that feels gross. I don't like trading with them.
Yeah, it is.
I don't like it. But there's no chance we're taking 4 players. They'll at bare minimum, if they can't trade up, if they can't do that, there's so many young players in that 21 to 26 age range, that we always hear Army talking about to go add to this core group. You know, you need a right-handed defenseman. You need a number 2 center. Maybe that can be filled by some of these things that we're seeing now. But if you want to make this team better, I look at draft picks as lottery tickets. Like the odds of a first-round pick hitting is okay, but it is that it's a chance. Like we've seen players that we thought were going to be really good bust, and we've seen players drafted late be really good. So I would rather have a proven commodity. So if I have to trade pick 15 to go out and get a 25-year-old player that fits this core, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. So I don't think there's any chance we're taking 4. I didn't think we were taking 3. When we just
we picked up another one.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's
what are we doing with this?
we're really no chance we're picking 4. 2 is the most. I think there's no more than 2.
No more than 2. So you probably.
I think we're getting Stenberg. I'm going to say it. I think we're going to go make that deal, and we're going to get Stenberg.
If you move up to 2, I'm going to assume maybe you go 11 for sure. Like I think 11 has to go. They're going to want the highest. Maybe you can try to say, well, you can have 15 or 16. We don't care, but we'll keep one of those just so we can try to stay high. And then you send them 29 and something else.
I think if you're doing those 3, that should get it done. Maybe even like 11, 16. Like we've got 3 thirds, early thirds at the 73, 75, 76.
Yeah.
So you can include 1 or 2 of those. And I think they would rather probably have a defensive prospect than another first-round pick. So I think you're sending at least 2 first-rounders, probably at least 1 of your thirds, and a defensive player of some sort.
You know what's crazy is this doesn't – these types of trades don't happen in the NHL where, like, you're trading a top pick for a shit ton of draft picks, but it happens in the NFL all the time. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of, hey, we got to go get our quarterback at
it's
we're
the NFL.
go.
Like, shoot, I think the NBA drafts tonight, like we see this kind of swapping happen all the time. Like the Giannis trade that just happened. Here's 3 firsts, and here's this, and here's that. And it's kind of like, I can't remember. I think we talked about it at one point in the chat, but like, I can't remember the last time a top 5 draft pick was traded.
Right.
It's been forever.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. I guess it would just be because San Jose was so close this year. So, and San Jose would be getting a shit ton. If we're giving them 11, if we're giving them 16, we're giving them 29, and we're throwing a third. You're talking about 4 players where 3 of them have a very good shot of making the NHL. The only problem is their shot of making the NHL is going to be in a year to 3, maybe even 4 if they're getting a defenseman with that 29 pick. It's going to be a while. So I guess what's the benefit of San Jose not just taking Ivar Stenberg? I know they have lots of forwards already, but they did just get rid of William Eklund. So I guess obviously with the Blues want this, we want this, but why would San Jose make this trade?
Well, if you look at their prospect pool too, like that's what you got to think about here is we got to talk about restocking the cover because they've got a lot of young players right at the same age. So at some point, all of like Celebrini could take a extension July 1st, and we're going to be talking 15, 16, 17, like numbers we've never seen before. So you've got to have those prospects that are continuously cycling. And if you look at their prospect pool, they've got some forwards. They've got Sam Dickinson. That is it. That is their only left-handed defenseman prospect. They don't have any good prospects that are going to be NHLers unless someone comes out of nowhere. So they need to restock this prospect pool because all of those players are graduating up or have graduated up. So they need to replenish that. And it also allows them with these picks, because I think if they trade for that, they're not making 3 picks in the first round either, because you're talking about 3 potentially in the top 15 at that point with 9, 11, and 15. You have 3 first rounders as ammo to go trade for that legit defenseman that you need. Like it gives them the ammunition to pull the trigger on a right now defenseman. And I think that's the biggest benefit for them.
So they just take those as extra capital.
Yeah. Just like we just saw with Ottawa. Like they didn't want to trade Brady, but they did. And they immediately turned around and traded those picks and got some other stuff. So like, I think San Jose is going to do the same thing if that were to happen.
All right. Then you know what? Let's get into the kind of just the prospects in general. And I'm going to pull up your rankings. So Koty is a master genius when it comes to these to the NHL draft. We just kind of met randomly 3 years ago. He goes, "Oh yeah, I love doing draft stuff and looking at that," and that's why he's been coming on for the last 3 years. So Koty goes through and looks at stats. Instead of me doing it, Koty, why don't you kind of go through very quickly just kind of your process and how your rankings kind of come out, compared to on the screen we have Scott Wheeler from the Athletics rankings.
Yeah, stats are whatever to me, like especially this year with the new rules, with how the CHL, all of those players are basically eligible to go play college hockey early. And we saw a bunch of really good prospects make the jump to the NCAA. And so the OHL, WHL, Q, all those leagues now, you're seeing an increase in scoring. The defense isn't good. The goaltending's not great. So don't look at those and just go, man, they put up a bunch of points. Why are they not higher? That's not what I care about. So when I watch these guys, I go through film, I watch videos, I watch different analysts on their opinions, and I pick and choose what I like based on what I see. And so when I look at it, I look at what are the traits that are going to make them an NHL player. So how do they do in the transition game? What's their 5-on-5 scoring look like? What are those elite skills that are going to make them a player in the NHL? How's their skating? So I look at all of those things and I kind of make my opinion based on that. So there are going to be some things that if you look at my rankings compared to others, like there are people that I absolutely love that are a little lower on other people's lists. And there's players that people think are going to be top 10 picks. There's one in particular that people are very high on, and he's on my I don't like him, not on my do not draft list. So, and I have him in my mock draft going early in the top 10. I wouldn't do it. I hope he's gone, so there's no chance we can take him.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to clarify because John White says McKenna not going first is criminal. This is not a mock. We will pull up the mock later, and the mock has Gavin McKenna going first. These are just prospect rankings.
Yes. And I have reasons. I think Gavin McKenna is the highest end offensive player in this draft. Like, he has a 100-point ceiling for sure. There are lots of things about his game that when he went to Penn State, it exposed. And I have some issues with some of his stuff. And I think Ivar Stenberg is a more complete player. He is not going to score you 100 points. 70 to 90, yeah, that's definitely in his range. But he is a complete player. He is physical. He's smart. He goes to the right areas. He's played against men for several years now in the SHL and on the World Championship team, and was one of the dominant players in that against men. So there are definitely things. And don't get me wrong, McKenna could absolutely be the best player in this draft. I just think there are big gaps in his game that is not what I'm taking first.
All right. One of the big ones I noticed is I was kind of comparing your rankings to Scott Wheeler's, which I typed his name backwards on your rankings, but Tynan Lawrence, give me kind of your idea on why you have him at 3 and Scott Wheeler's got him at what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, got him down at 11.
Yeah. There's a couple reasons here. A lot of people, he has definitely dropped some on people's rankings. From what I heard at the draft combine is a lot of people and scouts kind of bashed on him for leaving the USHL halfway through the season to go play college hockey and challenge himself. They thought it kind of hurt. He didn't have a great end to his season. But you're talking about a 17-year-old kid going to play college hockey a year early in the middle of a season, on a good Boston team that was expected to do a lot. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust. And I think he's going to go be a monster next year. But this is a guy, when I see him, he is a relentless force. Like, that is what he is. He is good on the faceoff. He's a center, obviously, something I keep talking about that we need. But he's not he's got a nose for the net. He's going to go there. He's going to be physical. He's a very good skater. He's a great forechecker and backchecker. And that's not something that you see out of a lot of these top end players. You're not going to see that elite defensive side of the game. So for him, a lot of people question what is the limit to his offense, because that's what's going to keep him from potentially being a number 1 center. I think at the absolute worst, Tynan Lawrence is a 3C. That is an absolute beast. He'll play on your penalty kill. He'll be this insane player that's going around smashing everybody. He's going to be a pest. He's going to be taking the puck away from everybody. Offensive zone, defensive zone, doesn't matter. And he's going to go to the dirty areas. But I think he's at worst a 2C. And I don't think that there's a legit 1C in this class. And I think he's just that good. Like, I love the intangibles there. I love all of the things that he does well are things that will translate to the NHL.
All right. I think the consensus as far as Scott Wheeler's rankings is, correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb Malhotra is a center, right?
Caleb Malhotra, yep.
Okay, so Scott Wheeler's got him as the first center off the board, probably projecting him as the 1C, where you have him, at least on your rankings, as the 3rd best center, because Viggo Bjork is also a center.
Yes.
Thoughts on just why you have Caleb so much lower than Scott Wheeler's?
I think Caleb Malhotra is going to be a solid player. I like a lot of his offensive upside. I think there's things that he still needs to improve on. His skating is something that's just okay. And I think okay skating to be an elite playmaker is hard to do. I think you need to be a good skater. At worst, really good on your edges. So I think he does some really good things. He's got high offensive skill. Defense, I question a little bit, but he did come on strong at the end of the year. So I don't want to make it like I don't like Caleb Malhotra. I just think in a typical draft, he's not going in your top 5. I also have him going 3rd in my mock draft because his dad is the new coach of the Vancouver Canucks, and the Vancouver Canucks are selecting 3rd overall.
John White was like, yep.
So yeah, I think that if Vancouver is not picking 3rd, maybe he goes to a really center needy team like the Rangers at 5, but there's just not an elite number one center in this class. So he's going to get pushed up the boards, but I don't think he's a number one. And I love Vigo Bjork. He's my little guy with energy that plays an insane style of game. So he's my Victor Eklund of last year. Like, I love those guys.
You love Victor Eklund. Who was Braden Coots? Wasn't that one too? Another short guy.
Little center, a lot of energy. Yeah, love them.
Yep. All right, let's dig into your mock draft then. Unless there's anyone else you want to talk about your rankings here. Maybe like Ryan Lynn, like Scott Wheeler's got him at 10. You don't even have him in your top 15.
So Ryan Lynn is an interesting one. I don't have him in my top 10. I have him low. What do I have him? I have him like in the 30s, and I'm a little harsh on that.
Yeah, 34.
My biggest issue with Ryan Lynn is he's a bad skater. That's the only way to put it. He is a bad skater. He's small and a bad skater. Like, that combo can't happen.
Especially for a defenseman, for those of you.
Yeah. And so, like, I like a lot of things about Ryan Lynn. I think he's got offensive upside, but there's not an elite aspect to his game anywhere. Like, he's not a good skater. He's not an elite offensive playmaker. He doesn't have an elite shot. He doesn't like walk the line like a Kale McCarr. So like, he tries to play physical. Like, I'll give him that, but he's like 5'9". So, or 5'10". Like, he's a little guy. He needs to put on weight. He needs to get stronger. He's got to get better skating mechanics and get that speed up. If he can do that, I don't dislike him. I think there's something there, but that skating has to get better. Otherwise, it's not going to be NHL translatable. I do have one player that he's not in Scott Wheeler's top, whatever this is, but it's Daxon Rudolph. He scares me.
Scott Wheeler's got him at 9, right above Ryan Lynn.
Oh, I missed him. Daxon Rudolph. He's on my do not draft list, basically. I don't like him. People are comparing him to like these big offensive upside defense, like an Evan Bouchard. He doesn't have that much offense first, right off the bat. Second, he doesn't defend. He doesn't take away gaps. He stands in his zone, so he's not moving. He's basically not knee bent. He just sticks his stick out, doesn't like have any aim defensively. When I look at defensemen, and I will be the first to admit this, if you don't play solid defense, you drop in my rankings significantly. I don't need offensive defensemen that can't play defense. I'm sorry. Like, I want players that when we get to the playoffs, I can put you out on the ice and trust you that you're going to do your job. And for a defenseman, offensive everything is a bonus. You have to play defense first and foremost for me. So I don't like Daxon Rudolph. I don't think there's fixing the lack of caring in the defensive zone.
Yeah, I've been for the people, Koty knows this, but I've been trying to kind of create our own little, we're turning it into like a Blues fan forum score in order to kind of project drafts using data. I don't have enough time to sit down and watch all the video that Koty does. But we're trying to use data to kind of throw through this. And in the very, very early stages, it loves Daxon Rudolph. Absolutely loves it. But also in the very, very early stages, it has like Gavin McKenna at like 15. So that's why I'm not sharing that information yet, because it's not ready. But just kind of funny that, a defenseman that is a good offensively, but yeah, like you said, just not good defensively.
Non-existent.
We did have a couple people. Brother Zach says, "Hey guys, Zach here. Do you believe the Blues will trade up to number 2 or Peterson?" We did cover that, Zach. I guess you're a little late. He might have just woke up. He works nights, so we're kind of thinking we got 4 picks in the first round. Koty says there's a 0% chance we take all 4 of these picks, meaning we're either probably one of those 2. Hopefully trading up to the number 2 spot for San Jose in order to get Ivar Stenberg. And if not, then kind of what John White says is maybe we go after Peterson. Both Koty and I kind of agreed that we're kind of scared of that 11.6 contract. If we can get to Elias Peterson and maybe have them retain a little bit, we would be a lot happier. And it doesn't even have to be a lot. Like I think we said like $1 million to $2 million on there. But yeah, we're going to go through this like the Blues are picking these 4 picks.
Yes.
But we find it unlikely that actually happens. So before we kind of get into Koty's mock, I'm going to kind of tell you guys some places you guys should spend your money. Because no, brother Luke says, wow, great question, Zach. I need to get my brothers on here more often. All right. So I mentioned scooters earlier. If you guys get your coffee, it is iced coffee season. I love iced coffee better than hot coffee. If you guys can specifically scoot on around to our drive-thrus on Highway 143 and Troxler Way in Highland, or Vandalia Street and Indiana Avenue in Collinsville. And then I actually need to talk to the guy that owns this, because I know they just opened up a store in Shiloh. So go ahead and check out Shiloh. If you're in the Shiloh area, go there. If not, you can take out any of the other locations in the greater St. Louis area. That is amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast scooters, coffee. Also, do us a favor, check out Hughes Custom Design. You can find them on Facebook. They're family-owned and run small business that is operated out of Maryville, Illinois. They specialize in laser cut, hand-painted signs, and they have options that are typically ready upon request, or they can complete almost any request for custom jobs. So if you want your Blue Note, if you want your birds on a bat, if you want your Battlehawks, if you want the Blues Fan Forum logo, like kind of like my sign sitting back here, but that's metal. They'll do it for you in wood. That's Hughes Custom Design. You can find them on Facebook. And then Imprint Labs, they specialize in bringing your brand to life with custom laser engraved Richardson hats and vibrant custom sublimated metal prints. Whether you want to make a statement with high quality headwear or showcase your designs on eye-catching metal art, they deliver precision, durability, and style every time. Elevate your brand with Imprint Lab, where your vision meets art craftsmanship, which pretty much means if you're listening to this podcast and you have something and you want it on something, go to Imprint Labs or go to Hughes Custom Design. If you want it on wood, Hughes Custom Design. If you want it on metal, if you want it on a t-shirt, if you want it on a hat, or you want it on a cup, go to Imprint Labs. All right. Koty, we do have a couple people asking. Actually, I want to get your take on this.
Yes.
Greg asks, okay, could we do both? Is moving up to number 2 and getting Peterson an option? I guess, Koty, if we do that, if we can do both, do we take a pick in the first round?
Probably not. Maybe one. It might be all of them though. Like if you're talking going up to 2 and getting Elias Pettersson, like that's you're giving up at least. I think
I'd be totally okay with that. Ivar Stenberg and Elias Pettersson, and we don't have a first round pick this year. Darn.
Yeah. My only thing with that is you're giving up all your first to go get more offense. And I do think we have a big need in defense still. So that's the only place that I would question whether we would, but can we? I think it's possible.
All right. Yeah, I guess kind of, as we mentioned in the Peterson talk earlier, I think it depends. And like you said, does Peterson really still want out? Is the big Swedish connection that Vancouver has brought in enough to make him want to stay? If he wants to stay, they still might trade him, but now they have more leverage. If he really wants out, their leverage is kind of gone. And hey, we like Swedes here too. So it works out. All right, let's get into, we kind of went over your rankings here. Let's go ahead and look at your mock draft. I do only have this for the first 16 picks because I didn't have enough space to fit the rest. So going through the first 15 picks, it looks like you go right in line with the first 4 for Scott Wheeler's mock draft, even though I know you don't agree with that Caleb Malhotra pick at 3. But with Vancouver there, I guess you just assume that
I think they will.
They're going to take him, and it looks like Scott Wheeler agrees with that as well. So where you kind of start to teeter off is pick 5 there with Carson Carell's on yours and Albert Smith's on there. Why don't you go ahead and kind of give us your ideas through this, and then we'll kind of hammer out the the St. Louis Blues picks?
Well, this changed, an hour and a half ago. I had to
Right.
redo my mock because originally I had something else because I had Chase Reed going second to San Jose if they don't trade it. And then I had Ivar Senberg going 4 to Chicago, which, again, would be awful. But as far as this goes, New York would love a center. They're not going to get one there. I think they need a lot. That Rangers team they need to tear it down. It's not good. They have not put together a cohesive team. They've got pieces that don't work. So I like Carson Karels a lot. He is a solid defenseman. Offensive upside, I question more than other people do, but he's a decent skater. He's physical. He's a solid defenseman. Vigo Bjork, like I said, I love him. He's proven that he can play with the big boys. Until this World Championship, like there were people talking about him slipping out of the top 10 because he is a 5'9" center, and some people question whether he'll stay at center. I don't. I think he's a stud. He's proven time after time. Put him with the big boys. Put him in the Swedish Elite League. Like he can play with them. So I love what Vigo Bjork brings. He's hard on the puck. His teammates they did a thing with him where they were with all of Sweden's team at the Worlds, and they're like, if you could have one trait of any player, what would it be? And they're like all talking Frondell shot or so-and-so speed. And then someone was like, I want Vigo Bjork's ability to not have the puck taken off of him. And every teammate went, yeah, I want that. And he's just that kind of player. He doesn't shy away. He plays way bigger than his 5'9". He's got a brother who's like 6'2". Like we're talking about a 17-year-old kid, and the difference of his height is a puck. Like that's it. And that's why he would drop. So like this is a kid that if he drops, I'm all over him. But I think what he did at Worlds kind of solidified that he'll go up higher. Albert Schmeets, I love him. Latvian. He's played in the Olympics. He played at Worlds. He played at the World Juniors. Like this is a guy that possibly is ready to step immediately into the NHL. He's big, he's physical, he can skate. Sometimes he tries to do a little too much offensively, but I think he'll clean that up when he gets to the NHL. Like I said, I don't like Daxton Rudolph, but that pick is Winnipeg. And with what's happened recently in the NHL, with these Americans going from Canada and wanting out to go back to America, like we've just seen with Quinn Hughes and Brady Tkachuk. Like I think especially Winnipeg, it's already hard for them to get good players to go there. So I think you have to draft players that are going to want to stay. So I have Daxton Rudolph going there as a guy that's from that region. So it might be easier to hold on to him. And I think that's something that some of these Canadian teams are going to start to look at. Now, Montreal has definitely been known for drafting Americans, right? They've got Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson and some of these guys. But a lot of these other teams are really worried about this. We saw Matthew leave Calgary. Like all of those things are going to start to add up. And I think some of these teams are going to get a little scared of some of these American players. So we might see a couple of them drop a little more. Now, this isn't a great draft for American NDDP. Like they didn't have a great team this year. So not a huge deal, but I think when it comes to some of these teams in Canada, you're going to see maybe a little bit of off the board to try and keep some of these Canadians there. Keaton Verhoff, I have him as my top ranked defenseman still. I really like Keaton Verhoff. He was somebody at the beginning of the season that was probably talked about in the top 3. Another guy who left the Canadian Hockey League, went to college early as a 17-year-old, and he didn't light it up in the point department like he had in the Canadian Hockey League. That's expected. Like you're not going to put up those type of points, especially as a defenseman.
Neither did Gavin McKenna to start. So
yeah. And so he got a lot of backlash about that, and he started to drop. But this is a guy who's 6'4". He's a solid skater, not an elite skater. That is one area that he could improve on a little bit is his skating, but it's good enough. He'll play physical. He's big. He's got a good stick. He's got a good shot. Like there's all these pieces that are there. and he was just playing up a level a year early, basically. So it's another guy, like I think about like Tynan Lawrence. Like, it's another guy where I'm like, give it a year and they may be a stud in the NCAA next year, and everyone's eating their words about what it was because they went there a year early. But if he was one to fall, I love Keaton Verhoff. Like, I think he is fantastic. I wouldn't be shocked if he went number 4 to Chicago. Like, I can see him going that high. But he is somebody that is very interesting of where he's going to go because of kind of the differing opinions on him. Malte Gustafsson is my second favorite defenseman in this draft. Originally, I had him going to us at 11. I think he is fantastic. He's a 6'4" Swede. He is fast. He is a great skater. He is physical. Offensive upside is the only thing that kind of keeps him out of this top group, but he is the best pure defender in this draft. And I think the Blues need right-handed defensemen much more than left-handed defensemen. He was my exception to the rule because I think he's that good. And is for sure going to be a top 4 defenseman, in my opinion. So I love Malte Gustafsson. He's fantastic. And that brings us to our pick at Tynan Lawrence. Like I said, we need center depth in our prospect pool. And this is my favorite center in the draft. So I love what Tynan Lawrence brought. We already talked about him, so I'm not going to go into a bunch more with him. And then after that, I have Ethan Belchets, who is a player that if you followed mocks for a while, he's somebody that got mocked to the Blues a lot. He's 6'5", power forward. He's big. He's okay physically. But for as big as he is, he's like 6'5", 240. Like, he's a big boy. He's got pretty soft hands inside for a big guy, but I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'd rather not have it at 11. I think there's better options. I think there's more needs. Like, when we look at our prospect pool, you think about what we have, and it's wing loaded. You just brought up Snuggerud. You just brought up Stenberg. You've got Carbonneau. You've got Pekarchik. You've got Stanchel. You've got Koss. Like, you can keep going through this list of all these wingers that we have, and some of them fit that kind of power forward role, like an Andre Kosh. So I'm like, why keep adding to the same thing that we have? Like, I don't see his ceiling as a top line power forward. I think of him as maybe a 2 winger, and he's not a play driver. So I am not quite as high on him. Solid player. Now, if he's at 15 or 16, I'm good with that. But I would rather go get a bigger need there. Ryan Lynn, we talked about. I think the skating has to improve or it's not going to be pretty. Wyatt Cullen, I like a lot. Wyatt Cullen is a guy that plays for the United States developmental team. He was their best player this year. When he came into the program, he was like 5'5", and he was still playing with them. Like, that's how skilled he was. He's now 6'1". So he's grown a lot. He's still learning his body, which happens a lot with these young kids that go through big growth spurts. So I think there's still some physicality that's going to come with it. He's going to naturally get stronger, but he's a good skater, and he already plays like he's a little guy. He's got the hands. He's got the shot. He's got a lot of skill. So Wyatt Cullen is definitely one that I would keep my eye on, and I think he could go in the top 10 still. Like, I think he could always be there. Adam Novotny. This is a guy I really like, which is why I have him higher than a lot of people. He's pretty big, 6'1", fast, great shot, winger. He's a guy I just said, don't necessarily take the wingers because we've got a lot of them. But when you're drafting potentially 4, I think I am at a point where we've seen the Blues pick floor players, like high floor, low ceiling players. You're like, they're going to make it to the league, but they're like a third liner. When you got 4 picks, let's take some shots. Like, let's go for guys that could be potential superstars and have huge numbers. Adam Novotny, I think, is fantastic. If you watched his World Junior this year for Team Czechia, he did not produce a ton, but every time there was a chance, he was involved. Like, he just had really bad puck luck in that tournament and got robbed a lot. But he was constantly the center of attention everywhere that he was. So I really like what he brings with the speed, with the even a little physicality, but the speed, the shot, the smarts, getting to the right places at the right time, finding open space. Like, you always need those type of players that are smart. And then I put someone a little higher up on the board than I think he will actually go. And that is, everyone will say Xavier Villeneuve. Xavier Villeneuve, you're French Canadian from the Q. For those of you that have not seen him, which most of you probably have not because it's the Q and no one watches that, it's not pretty. Think Lane Hudson. Like, this dude has more offensively gifted talent than almost all of the forwards in this draft. Like, he can dance around people. He can walk the line. He can do those things most players cannot do. Now, the problem with him is he tries to do it a little too much at times. Decision-making can be questionable because he can do so much. He tries it, and he's in the queue, so whatever. He usually can get away with it. Yeah. So it's going to come down to, can his decision-making at the next level, can he be smarter with it? Because he does have all the skill in the world to do those things. Defensively, I think he's a little underrated. Like, people think, oh, huge offensive player. Like, yeah, but he can't play defense. No, I think he has really good lanes that he takes. He's got a good active stick. So there is a base there. He is a small guy. He's 5'11", so, small for a defenseman. But all of these things that we're saying right now are the same things that people said about Lane Hudson. And he ended up going in the second round. And now we look at it and we're like, why did so many teams pass on this kid? Because he was small, because he kind of played the same type of way where he got away with a lot because he was in a lesser league, put up pretty big offensive numbers, and they questioned whether his defense could translate to the NHL. And now look at Lane Hudson being the number one defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. Like, at some point, scouts in the league have to go, we have to take a chance on some of these players because he has multiple elite skills that play. So I think he'll probably go in the mid-20s, would be my guess. But if you have 3 picks in the top 16 and all of the best defensemen already came off the board, this is a guy that I'm willing to take a shot on that could prove to have massive upside. Like, you don't have that type of defenseman in your system. You don't have the power play quarterback that is just an offensive threat.
That guy we hoped Scott Perunovich would have turned into. Yeah,
but way more skill than Perunovich. Right. So I don't think Juracek's that. I don't think might use that. I don't think Lindstein's that. Like, they all have some offensive upside. They're good transition players. They can move the puck well. Juracek has a really good shot from the point, but like, there's not that elite offensive upside that can just run it. And I think he's a very interesting piece there.
If the draft goes the way that Scott Wheeler's picks go here, and the Malte Gustafsson is available, do you think the Blues still go with the center and take Tynan, or do you think they go with the lefty and go Gustafsson?
Gosh, that's a good. This was my debate because my first mock that I had.
You had us taking Gustafsson.
I did. Well, I had one before that.
Oh, okay.
That you didn't see a couple weeks ago, and I had Lawrence at 11, Gustafsson at 15, but he just keeps rising, and I don't think he gets to 15. I think there's more of a chance Lawrence could get to 15 than Gustafsson. I think we need the center more. I think we have a lot of left-handed D prospects. And I see there's a comment John put in there, if you want to pop it up, about best player. So you should always take best player available regardless of the position. You can buy what you need. I like this comment. Here's the thing. In Army, we'll talk about this too. So when you go into the draft, you have sections of your tiers. Like, these are my tier 1, these are tier 2. And so when you go into it and you have players, they're like, let's say there's 6 players in tier 1. And you get to the end of tier 1 and you're into tier 2 and we're 3 players deep and you have 4 more players in tier 2. And let's say Gustafsson and Lawrence and Belchet and some of those guys are all there, and you see them about the same, then you do take positional need. It's BPA. You still do that, but it's tier BPA. So like if they're all in that second tier, then you take the position need in that tier. So like while I think, like, let me pull up my rankings real quick. So like for me, if I have
like you have Gustafsson at 6.
Yeah, so like
you have Lawrence at 3. So if they're in the same tier,
you take positional need, which is center.
Yeah.
So like if I like, even if I'm looking at other things, like if I've got, Adam Novotny, Ethan Belchet, Elton Hermansen, because I have all those wingers about the same. And then I have someone down here like he has at 16, Alexander Command. He's a center. Maybe I have him at 19 where I have Novotny and all these guys at like 13, 14, 15. But here's the deal. I'm going to tell you after about, let me look at my rankings, after about pick 14 or so, picks 15 through like 50 could be interchangeable. Like there's going to be a little bit of gaps there for your tiers, but they're very interchangeable. Like this is very similar to each other. So it does come down to positional a little bit, but then what specific skills are you looking for to add to your pool? Like maybe you don't have that sniper, that elite shooter that you need to add into there. Well, then maybe I want like a Elton Hermansen or a Mathis Preston, someone who's got an elite shot. Maybe you need that big physical body. Okay, well now I'm pulling an Ethan Belchet or an Oscar Hemming or someone like that, or a Maddox Dagenet. Like you kind of go in with, this is my tier. I'm not leaving my tier, but now in my tier, what position do I need? What specific traits do I need to add to my prospect pool? And that's how you go about it. So yes, I will say draft BPA. But when we're talking BPA, you got to know there's tier levels of that BPA where they're all really, really close and interchangeable.
It's like fantasy football, except with real people.
A little bit.
Real drafting. At pick 29 on your mock, you have us taking Nikita Klepov. Go ahead and kind of give us some information about him.
Yeah, Nikita Klepov is somebody that I don't have a lot of flaws in his game. You want a little bit more consistency defensively, but when he's playing defense, he's a pretty solid defender. This is somebody who is a rookie in the OHL and led the OHL in scoring. He had 97 points. He's the first rookie to lead the OHL in scoring since in the 70s at some point. So you're talking about a guy who's kind of that good mix of playmaker scorer. Like he's going to be a good passer. He gets to good lanes, but he does have a really good shot, whether it's a one-timer, whether it's a wrist shot, whether it's a toe drag into a shot, whether it's off the rush. Like this is a guy that has a lot of offensive abilities, still a little young, needs to add a little bit of muscle to his frame. So he's not little, but he's a little light. You'd like to get him to bulk up, get a little stronger. But again, we're talking about 18-year-old, basically high schoolers. Like that's when we think about this. Like
we were all like that in high school.
Yeah. So there's still going to be some maturing to do, but I like a lot of his game. I like his offense. I like his instincts. I like his playmaking. I like his shot. I think he has enough compete defensively that you absolutely can work with it. Like if I think about like what we just talked about, Jordan Kyrou, his biggest issue is that everyone dogged on him was the defensive side. He doesn't play defense. And we saw this year kind of that transformation where he played a little bit better defense. I think you're getting at least that level of defense from a Nikita Klepov. And I think the scoring is something that people question whether it translates. I think his vision is too good for it not to translate.
All right. One other name that kind of popped up in my toying of the rankings that I was creating, Nikita Klepov was one that was pretty high based on his production in the OHL. But another one was JP Hurlburt, which you have in your mock draft going 2 picks after us at 31 with Carolina. So what are your thoughts on JP Hurlburt?
Yes, this is a guy I also very much like. He's a little guy, and that is why he's going to drop. He is a dynamic offensive player. He's super skilled, super creative. He can throw and take a hit for a little guy. I say little. He's like 5'11". But when we talk about NHL, anything under 6 foot, there's question marks that scouts don't necessarily like. He's like 5'11", like $180. So he's not a big guy. But he's really good skater, really good on the edges. He can play a little small at times and get pushed around. But he's not a good defender, especially in the transition game. And that's why he's going to fall. The size, the defense, he is not a play driver. So he's not a guy that's creating his own offense. He relies on his line mates to find him. But he's so good in the offensive zone. Like people are like, talent wise, offensively, they're like, he's McKenna Light. Like that's the kind of offensive ability he has. But he's transition is rough. He turns the puck over a lot in transition, trying to do a little too much. So there's some areas he's got to work on a little bit. But this is a guy, again, if the Blues drafted him at 29, I'm not upset because there is a big offensive upside if you can work on a few areas of his game.
All right. And then the last guys that I will ask you about is you and Scott Wheeler both have the Vancouver Canucks trying to replicate the Sedin twins.
I do.
And taking the Ruck twins.
Yes.
You have them a little bit earlier. You have them taking Ruck at 24 or Liam at 24 and then Marcus at 33, where I think Scott Wheeler's got Vancouver taking both of them in the second round. But what's your thoughts on that replication process there?
So there was talk. They're like, oh, the Blues could do it. They've got 11 and 15. I'm like, too early. Too early. They're very good. Marcus is the center. Liam is the winger. They're both just under 6 foot tall. They're very light. One's like $175 and the other's $165. So like there's got to be weight put on there. But they do have that Sedin twin type of chemistry where they know where each other are all the time. The problem is Liam, the winger, he is an ugly skater. It's just not pretty. But he's a shot first. He's got a really quick release. He can kind of take a pass from anywhere. So if you make him a crappy pass that's in between his feet, he's still going to find a way to receive it and get off a shot. Like it's pretty good. He's okay on handling the rush. He's pretty good off the rush. He finds some pretty big, decent space. He's not a big hitter. So here you don't expect physicality out of these two. He's pretty decent in the D zone with his stick. So any of these small guys, like they have to have a good active stick for defensive purposes. And I think they both do that pretty well. Marcus scares me a little more, which is why he's the later of the two. He is a center, which usually you would think would go first. He couldn't do the combine because of a back injury that's been lingering for a year or two now. And that should scare people. We saw Caden Lindstrom 2-3 years ago go real early, and we've barely seen him play because of a back injury. So that's always worrisome. But Marcus is a really good playmaker. He's got awesome vision. He's super quick passes, high effort, high IQ. His skating's a little better than his brother's, but it's not great. He wins battles even though he's a small guy. He's really good at winning battles because of anticipation. So he's not going to go into the boards and dig it out and win those physical battles, but he's going to be in the right place to pick things off when they come out because he just kind of thinks the game a little bit ahead of everybody else. He's a guy that doesn't really force plays either. Like that's a lot of these young guys, they're going to try and throw everything to the middle of the ice to try and create offense. He's somebody who's not going to force those plays. He's not a big stick handler. He's just very smart with the puck. He knows where to go. He knows where to be. He knows how to get it to him. Strength concerns, obviously, because he's small. But the biggest reason he's going to fall is because of that back injury. But I think these are two, and a lot of analysts have said it. If you draft them both, you have 2/3 of a second line. I don't know if they'll be second line players in the NHL, but I think they have a chance to do something like that. So don't expect Sedin twins. They're not that talented, but they are in a same vein as them because they do have that kind of twin connection where they do know where each other are and they play very well off of each other.
All right. I don't think I really had anyone else kind of popping out that I wanted to talk to. Was there anyone else that you were interested in talking about?
I think there's interesting players if we stick. Like I've talked Tynan Lawrence. I think there's some wingers that are very interesting. We talked Wyatt Cullen a little bit, but I think if they go center, there's a few other names that could be in that range. Alexander Command, again, he's a Swedish center. I think there's a lot of 3Cs in this draft. I think there's a lot of not huge offensive upside, but really good two-way players. And I think Command is one of those. I really like Ilya Morozov more than some other people. He's another young one who went to the NCAAs early and just has a motor and hits everything. Offensive upside is the question mark, though. But I really like Morozov. Oliver Savanto is a Finnish center. He's a bigger guy. He's 6'3", more power forward type. I think he is for sure going to be a 3C in the NHL. He's smart. He's good defensively. You don't worry about what he's doing. Again, he's not going to put up huge offensive numbers. So there's some interesting ones there. If you pick at 29, it's a crapshoot depending on what you want. Like if you want a floor player, you want that like third line physical, brings energy type of guy, man, there's some really good ones in this draft. Casey Mutrin, who's the captain for the U.S. national team, is one of those guys. Big leader, physical, plays smart game, and it's going to hit everything that moves. But there's interesting players into the mid to even late second round. And I know we don't have a second round pick, but when you start talking about 3/3, someone starts to fall that you like, you can package them together and start to move up. So I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities. And I always say with every draft a goalie at some point because it's such a crapshoot. This is a really good goalie draft. So I think you should definitely, if you have all three of those thirds, one of them better get used on a goalie.
All right. Had a couple people ask about Binnington. So before we get into that, let's kind of wrap up the draft here. You've kind of already said that we're most likely, or you're at 0% of using all four picks. Give me your most realistic outcome that you think the Blues will go. Do we move up and get Ivar? Do we move up and get Ivar and also trade for Peterson? What do you think come Saturday morning we're looking at?
I think we go get Ivar. I think this trade getting us the 4 firsts really solidified, in my opinion. You are moving up to go get your guy, and I think it's Ivar.
All right. Nobody's going to be upset with that.
No. And I think if you get him, I don't think you also go out and get Pettersson. I think it's a high risk, high reward. I think if you go get him, you're talking about a lot of wingers and a lot of young centers that need some playing time. And I don't know where they all fit unless you're gonna package some of them up and ship them out for defense as well. So I don't see them doing both, but I do think we're gonna move up and get Ivar.
All right, I'm okay with that. Let's go get Ivar. Let's make some noise. I mean, you got 4 first-round picks. You got to make some noise.
Yeah, I think we will. I say that, but again, when we drafted the 3. When we got Dvorsky, Stenberg, and Lindstein, I thought we were going to trade and move up and do some stuff too, and we didn't. So I think Steen wants to make a splash, and I hope he does. And it would only be fitting that he goes and gets the best Swede in the draft.
Right. All right. Then let's go Jordan Binnington. So we haven't really talked about it here, but I'm sure everyone is aware that the Panthers traded for Brady Tkachuk. They gave up the 2 first-round picks that they have in this year's draft. They gave up their 2029 first-round pick, which is conditional. And then they also gave up a 2030 second-round pick in order to get Brady Tkachuk. The only problem with the Florida Panthers is they don't have a goalie signed.
No, they don't.
Bobrovsky is looking for a payday despite being old as shit. And Tarasov is probably just not a 1A yet or even a 1 yet.
No.
So they need somebody. So everyone is saying, well, you can't go out and get Hellebuck. That's going to be too expensive as well. So Binnington seems to be the target. So what is your thought on Binnington either still playing for the Blues or getting moved to the Panthers or somewhere else?
I've been saying since the offseason started, that's where he's going. I think they've only got like $6.5 million in cap space. Binnington cost about that. I think he's at 6 with 1 year left. I think the Blues eat 50% of this contract, make it $3 million, and you try and up what you can get for him. I don't think they have a lot of picks at this point.
That's what I'm looking right now.
But I think
they have 2 seconds. They have
but
2
I
seconds.
think but I think a second and a prospect, I think that's realistic. I don't know. I have to dig into their prospects to see like what they have, but
and they have their own second, so that's going to be early-ish. What it was like 9.
So I think it's a very real possibility that I've said it all off season. I think Binnington to the Panthers just makes too much sense. And it is weird because Bobrovsky seems to want like a 5-year deal at like 6 or 7 million still.
Yeah.
So he's like 38. No, thank you.
Right. He wants a lot for a long time.
Yeah. So I think it's the perfect landing spot for Binnington, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I was looking at their prospects just to see if there's any name that I recognize.
There's not a lot right now.
Yeah, nothing's really sticking out of me. But they've also traded. I mean, they've lost first-round picks in the Seth Jones deal and the Brad Marchand deal. I mean, and all of these is. I mean, there's a reason that they're going to win the Stanley Cup for the next 5 years in a row. Yeah. But they have no first-round picks. So yeah, nobody really looking unless you can get Cole Schwindt. That's a name I recognize, but he's 25 and an RFA.
Yeah.
I mean, would you take like him over a 3rd-round pick? Like we'll take a second and Cole Schwindt, or we'll take a second and a 3rd.
I'd take a second and a 3rd.
Okay. Yeah, that's just
like
a
the
name
ammo
that I
better.
notice. I don't know the player at all. Yeah, that's about it. Cooper Black sounds like a cool goalkeeper name.
Never heard of him.
Nope, he's just got a cool name. That's,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yep. No one else is just popping out. So yeah, maybe just take the picks. Like you said, that range of, what'd you say? I think like 20 to 50 of just being anything. So if you can just get back into the second round with a couple Florida picks.
Especially if you're moving those picks and going up to get Ivar, then get some ammo, move back into the second, take one of those guys that maybe has been falling for whatever reason.
Yep. All right. Besides that, let's say weird shit happens and the Blues can't get Ivar Stenberg. San Jose says no. Elias Peterson somehow gets shot down. We just traded a right winger in Jordan Kyrou. So there is a theoretical open spot in right wing. And there's a cap strap team down south in Dallas with Jason Robertson.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
Is there any?
No.
Did you put any thought into that? I know people love to talk rumors.
Someone asked me earlier today, and I said no. Dallas isn't trading him to us, period, full stop. And they're like, well, what about offer sheeting him? Well, to offer sheet him for them not to take it, you're not offering the first round picks this year. It's going to be the next 4 years of first round picks. That's the only way it's getting it done on an offer sheet. And it's too rich for his age. And now if he was like 22 doing this, maybe think about it, but still no.
He also apparently turned down a $12 million AAV because he wants 14.
Yeah.
So I'm on the boat of, we don't need.
I'm a no.
We don't need that, but I just figured someone would probably talk about that or ask that. All right. Well, draft is Friday. First round should be interesting. I'm kind of glad I have nothing to do that day because
Same.
that's what I'm going to be doing is watching that. Even a little bit into day 2 might get interesting with those 3 third-round picks, like you mentioned, at 73, 75, and 76. So
I agree.
So some exciting stuff here. We'll be back next week to kind of recap and see how that panned out. What happened? Did we make any noise, or did we just pick Dvorsky, Lindstein, and Otto Stenberg again? We shall see. Koty, do you have anything else for us?
I think that's it. It's about to be a fun off season, man. The UFA class sucks, so we're just gonna keep seeing trades. So buckle up. It's gonna get interesting.
Yeah, some big trades already. I think the only one we didn't mention was I kind of feel bad for Simon Nemec leaving New Jersey and going to Calgary.
It's one that I thought could be a Cairo fit. So
Yep. So, all right. Well, Koty, thank you so much. You absolutely killed it, as you usually do. I can also say, you guys are not, if you're listening to the Blues Fan Forum podcast, you have to keep listening to this, but Koty and his buddy are now part of the Interstate 70 Sports Media Group. So Koty, go ahead and kind of give your own podcast a little shout out here so people can listen to you as well.
Yeah, we do the We Were Athletes Once podcast. So it's not just hockey. So if you're interested in other sports, we try and keep up to date with all the different sports. But if you are hockey, we do a specific hockey podcast as well, not just Blues focused, but NHL focused. And we will do a very specific draft intensive where I'll probably go through even more prospects on Thursday afternoon. So it'll probably get posted either Thursday night or Friday morning. So if you're looking for more draft info, check us out at the We Were Athletes Once podcast.
All right. Awesome. All right, Koty, give me a big let's go Blues and we'll get out of here.
Let's go Blues.
All right. See you, everybody.